last several sprints at least. And so this one will take us through March 23rd. Okay, so we do have, I did some work with Sean yesterday and got some preliminary scope identified for Sprint 3, also the carryover for tasks that had not completed yet in Sprint 2. And so we have those initial items here in Sprint 3. And so I think we'll just quickly go over what we have in here right now. Some of it I think we can just jump over quickly because we know about the work going on. And so we have the related Kubernetes items that are scoped in here for Sprint 3. So that work is going on. And then we have talked before about the issue 624, which was opened up by Sean previously, and then also 623. So those two defects we have in here. There's been, why don't I go ahead and jump over to 623 right now. And so we do have some updates in here. So there's a new screenshot that was added after the last meeting. And then we have some ongoing review going on the AT&T side at least to look at this. So this has been tested with a single ONU on the pond tree, but there was some additional retesting that was going to go on later with multiple ONUs. And so this one I think we have some traction on in terms of at least verifying whether this is resolved at this point or if it's still seen in the lab environment at AT&T. So that one is under investigation currently. So thank you for, and let's see, Sean, I think we have a note from you. Let me expand my controls so I can see what you're saying. Okay, so I see in the chat from Sean that this ticket is going to be closed and a new one will be opened, that the device state is still showing disabled, but the clear was received. Okay, so Sean, let's get that update in here and then close out the ticket and open the new one with the info that you have. So any questions from the community on this one? Okay, so Sean, thank you for providing that info. Okay. And then we did, when we were going through the scrub of the backlog, we found 251, which we put in here at this point. So I wanted to talk over that with the community. So I think this one may be related. And this one is for the EdgeCore driver. It should have a provision to clear all the flows for a particular ONU so that flows can be cleared when an ONU is disabled or deleted. So this one, I don't know, this one has been around for quite a while. It had previously been blocked by a different story, but that's no longer the case. And so, oh, I see you added a comment in here as well. Okay. All right, so, I mean, it looks like this one is actually ready to close based on the comments that you have in here.
Yeah, Julie. So this was done. This was created a long time back, and subsequently the ONU delete feature has already come in. So this has already been solved.
Great. So if we want to go ahead and close that, that is good. So we're trying to get clean up of the backlog. So thank you for that.
Right. Is there something? So when you say clear, does it mean the clear from where? You know, is that from the VOLTHA and also from the ONOS, or what's the scope of the clear?
No, this is for clearing out the flows at the bell layer.
Okay. So clear the flow on the bell layer, but the flow on the, if you say show flow or something like that on the VOLTHA or ONOS, will that still there?
No, so this is the case when the ONU gets deleted. So when the ONU gets deleted, the flows at the logical device at the device would be getting deleted anyways. This was to address the thing where the flows would not get deleted at the bell layer.
Okay. So basically, this one has been implemented or has been merged, right? Or
yes, this is merged.
Julie, do you think we need to see a demo on this one? Or the community has no issue about this?
I'm sorry, I was on mute. Anyone from the community have any comments?
Someone speak up, otherwise we'll close this one.
Would anyone like a demo, as Sean was asking if there was any request for a demo of this item?
So,
okay,
so,
Sean,
so I mean, yeah, I'm not thinking. So I mean, when the ONU gets deleted, is that automatically flow will be deleted, or does a special additional command needs to be issued?
No, so when the ONU gets deleted, the flows for that ONU would get deleted automatically at the bell layer. Yeah, but when the ONU gets deleted, the flows will not be deleted from ONAS.
So that's still a separate issue here there.
Yeah,
Okay.
because the delete ONU comes from the VOLTHA CLI, right? So that does not take into account ONAS. So in an ideal scenario, it has to be some other entity outside of ONAS and VOLTHA, which should make sure that the ONU gets deleted at VOLTHA, and correspondingly the flows from ONAS also gets removed.
Okay, yeah, I think that's one of the. I think for the benefit of all the POC, you know, we do need a mechanism to, you know, to instead of triggering the VOLTHA CLI to do the delete or add something like that, we probably do need to have a situation we can simulate coming from the northbound. Yes.
Yeah, Sean, sorry, I need to correct myself there. So actually what would happen is when the ONU is deleted, the logical port would be removed. And when the logical port is removed, the flows at ONAS will also get removed. So sorry, I was wrong in what I said earlier. Actually, the flows in ONAS will get removed.
Can other people confirm with with this statement?
Yeah, that's correct. That's how it works. Deleting an ONU results in a deleting of a port. Deleting of a port, a message sends to owners, and those flows supposed to be gone.
Yeah.
Also, just sorry. Go ahead.
I guess I'm confused with deleting the service, but if we delete the service, the flow will not get deleted, right? So I guess what you're saying, when a logical port got removed, then all the flow will be associated to that port will be deleted. Okay, I take that, but I think the service part that's not. Okay. Julia, I think okay. I think Julia, I think it's okay to close this one.
Yeah. Also, just one comment, Sean, on the disabled part of the requirement. So when you disable an ONU and enable it, that mechanism uses the admin state of the ONU to stop traffic on all the flows going to that ONU. So there's no deletion of the service when you disable or you know, and then re-enable the ONU itself.
Correct.
Okay.
I think that's correct behavior. one thing is when you disable it, when you're with the logical port, should be disabled, and then in that case, no traffic will flow through. But yeah, I think there's some security stuff we need to consider, but I'm not going to address here. So I think, Julie, we can move on.
Okay, and I've gone ahead and I've marked it as done here. And then I think I forgot to give the announcement about recording this. So the session can be posted later to VOLTHA playlist. So we are recording the meeting, and I did just double check to make sure I hit the record button, and that is active. So just a reminder to everyone, we record it as usual.
And Julie, on the vote to the 623, did you see my text on the?
Yes, I did. So you're going to be closing this issue and then opening a new one.
Yes.
I think you saw the clear was received, but the device remained disabled.
Yes. When you show device on the VOLTHA, the ONU still say disabled.
So if we get those updates in, then we can add the new ticket here and then close this one out.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. All right, and then the next one in here is VOL 637, which we had some discussion with Manuel previously. And I believe on the last meeting when we talked about this, there had been a request for some flow diagrams and examples, and so I believe Manuel, yes, added an attachment here, and so this is from a previous presentation. So everyone, please feel free to look at that offline. And then we will move on to the next scope item. And this is again 639, which we had discussed with the group, and so I think that was still under a fair bit of discussion. If we need to schedule another meeting for that, let me know. Otherwise, we can have a discussion over VOLTHA Discuss. And then the Edge Core device management item we have here. This is one that relies on other items being completed first, I believe. This is a test item. So that one I think will stay in the to-do for a bit. And then we have some OpenOMCI related work as well. And so we have, is there a comment? Okay, so we have a couple items that are in the to-do column there as well. And another Kubernetes related item has been moved into the scope. This one's 506. Let me go over 506. Okay, and this one, we'd been looking for updates for this in the past. There had been a request to look at this after VOL 419 to see if that resolved the issue. And we did get confirmation that it did not. And so that one, I think is still an open issue. And at this point it is in here, and we do have a material up in Garrett for review. So let's see. Let me open
and this is not.
Yes.
This is not specific for the Edge Core OOT, right? It's for any OOT.
I don't see Niren on. Sarish, I see you are on. I'm not sure if you want to comment on this item. I believe it's in course.
Hey,
go ahead.
Hey, Julie, I'm on.
Yes.
Yes, I think for the multicast support, even after taking 419, it doesn't solve it. So we need to bring our fixes in, and that fix was already sent in as a patch set, but never reviewed. So I guess it needs to be rebased to the latest and resubmitted so that it can be done again. The review process can go on again.
Okay. Thank you for that update, Sarisha.
Trisha, this is applicable for any ONU OLTs, right? Not just for the edge core.
That is correct. It is for any OLTs. The core does not support multi-pawn support today. And then we added it as a part of our POP 3. When we showed multi-pawns, we took that fix and we submitted it, but then it was not reviewed. And then we had an action to check if 419 fixes it, but 419 does not fix it. So we need the change that we actually added.
Okay, now I remember the 419. Okay.
Sean, other questions?
Nope.
Okay. And then the next one that we moved in from the backlog in the review. And so again, you know, comments from the community are welcome when we're reviewing these new items that we moved in, as we, you know, we're taking our best guess at what should go in from the backlog. Now, all of a sudden, I can't remember which the number was. 295. Okay. 295. Okay, and this one is on the adapter side, support for multiple OLTs. And this one, I don't see any work on it, and it's unassigned currently as well. So any comments from the community on this item? So this is to add support for multiple OLT devices. And I think we have a, Sean, I think, did we not open a related JIRA recently? I thought one of the new issues may have been here, or else it was on the to-do list. So this one may need to be combined with one that was opened recently to capture the details that were in both, because this had some comments about simulator testing as well and scope for that. Okay, so I think that one will get combined with another ticket, and then we'll decide which one to keep open. Okay. And then 629, this was one that was moved in as well. And I think this, let me see if this one is in the to-do column. Okay, so this one we've reviewed in the past. That was one of the ones for 1.2.1. And then 484 is the next one that's in the to-do column here. Sorry. Let me try and, there we go. And this, I think, may be related to one of the tickets, newer tickets as well. So this is the deletion and addition of flows is not working on the edge core. So this item, I think we decided to go ahead and recommended that it go in Sprint 3 as well. So questions or comments from anyone at this time? It's a quiet group today. Okay. Then the next group we have are the in-progress issues. And so those are, I think we've reviewed most of those in the past. So the 636, that one is being worked currently. And so same thing with 638. So those were a couple of the tickets opened up by Manuel. And then we have the edge core issues. And let me see.
So Julie, 636, I did the editing, changed the subject, you know, multiple ONU up to 256.
Okay, thank you. Yes, thank you for reminding me. So this, I think when we had the review, there was a request for some clarification on related to scalability, how many ONUs should be supported per pawn. And so I think this was to line up with the standard, not necessarily meaning that that many would be active for testing in 1.3, but from just the architecture perspective, that should line up with what's in the standard. And so Amit, I see, yeah, so we had a comment from Sean adding that in. And then here you have the item about target for demonstration by the end of year. And then updates also from Amit on the change in the description with the scalability aspect added in. So questions from the group on this item? Okay, let me move back. Okay, and I did want to see who we've got on the call right now. See if we've got Jason on. So.
Hey, Julie, just a quick question on
Yes.
636. The 256, I guess the demo for 64 ONTs. So is the demo okay to be simulated, or that has to be actual real ONUs that are connected to a pond?
For the 64?
Yeah.
At the end of the year, I think we probably rather to see the real device. We can negotiate.
Okay.
Well, right now the requirement is real ONU device, but yeah.
Okay, I guess it's probably a matter of getting 64 ONUs on together on one font is maybe the issue, but okay.
Yeah. So we have this in here as a target for demonstration, and as we progress through the year, let's keep an eye on that in terms of, you know, I think probably we'd want to schedule some demos later on once this is done as well. And I think starting with simulations would be a great point to begin. And then we'll see the feasibility towards the end of the year about having up to 64 on a single pond with actual physical devices. Sean, does that sound reasonable?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. And Sean, missed it. Any other comments from you? Sorry, I say Sean and I don't say which one I'm talking to. Sorry about that. But you read my mind.
Yeah. We should just use last name. Okay.
Good for now, anyway. All right, thanks.
Okay, thank you. And
have you ever been involved in the project with so many Seans?
and I don't see Jason on the call today, so let me go over now to, I think it was 312. I wanted to check on this. Well, without Jason, I'm not sure if we'll be able to get all the info we need, but we will see what we can find. Let me.
One question I have is,
yeah.
You know, Jason did the testing and did the test report. So what do we go from there? Kim, are you on?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
So you know, I think the reboot OLT has some question regarding to the VOLTHA is, you know, CLI is waiting the reboot and OLT become active again to make available, right? So you cannot type anything. But that is one of the, you know, issues we can open as a separate ticket if we need to. But definitely running the reboot, running the fan, you know, if you look at the report HCore provided, so fan and PSU and the reboot, they all worked right now. At least the event is coming out from the to the Kafka bus. So what does it mean to the device manager, device manager using the Redfish? What's next step? Is it complete or what?
Well, that was pretty much the goal to have those events coming up through Kafka, right? But you know, I think that at this point, you know, is how that code is maintained and built. You know, the question will be we're looking at that comment right there with it has the Intel rack scale source code, the entirety of it, when only a piece is used, the PSME piece. So, and I think the suggestion was there is to put a copy of that whole Intel stuff onto GitHub for downloading. So I don't know if that's if that's a good idea. We might want to try to make that be upstreamed a little better, where it pulls from the Intel GitHub and patches it. I think that was kind of the discussion I had with Jason in the past, because it's just pulling patch files from a Google Drive, so we don't really have clear and we don't have a real clear version control or anything like that in there. So that was just one issue that I looked at as far as completeness. Do we really like the way that thing is going together? It clearly it is there because they work with it and have used it, but can that be replicated? Because it does put quite a bit more complexity in the OLT side build and the packaging. So it's kind of where we want to go from there.
And I think maybe the Shad and Rob and then Jono is working on integrating the OLT software into the core, right? So right now they are writing a manual process at this point about how to compile all that kind of stuff. So shall we use that as shall we use ONF as the input where the software is going to be?
Hi, Sean. If I understand correctly, as Kim is mentioning, this code looks far from being able to be integrated. I mean, even be checked into GitHub in the master, because if it's actually, you need to. I mean, as Kim mentioned, the right way to do this is to git clone. When you want to build it, is to git clone it from its source upstream, and then patch it and build it, and not store something on, store the entire thing in master. So from what I understand, there's still a bit more work remaining. I mean, it's not that it's done.
Okay.
Kim, am I right?
Yes. Yeah, Shad, I think that's the case. And also, I haven't seen any patches go up to Garrett with that code. We still have that old one from CalSoft that's been hanging around, but we haven't seen the patches that match with that. So I think this is a case where we just have to consider that, yes, the development work has kind of been done. We've seen kind of what at least the basics, to go forward with that. We see those events coming up through the Kafka bus, right? That's been demonstrated, but to actually pull all this stuff together and kind of put it into like a OLT distribution, let's say, I think there's quite a bit more work there, and I think EdgeCore is going to need some guidance on what to do with that, or how to approach that.
So, Kim, what do we need to do then to move forward with this? Do you think we need a separate breakout meeting with EdgeCore to talk about how to proceed? I mean, would that be helpful? Is it something we can handle over email, or do we need to have a targeted meeting?
So, Julie, I think somebody needs to spend some cycles on it. Either Kim or somebody from ONF or somebody else from the community needs to actually try out, because we are more familiar with VOLTHA. We have a view of how this stuff needs to be integrated. So somebody other than EdgeCore needs to take that, review it, get an understanding of it, and then give EdgeCore the feedback as to what they need, what needs to be done to integrate it into VOLTHA properly. So I guess somebody has to spend the cycles, and I mean, I don't think at ONF we have that bandwidth. So it's either Radisys or somebody else who has to spend quite a few. I mean, I would think that it's like probably a couple of days effort at least to get familiar with what Hcode has done, in terms of the code, and then give them back a feedback.
Okay. So let's see. Do we have anyone who has cycles to do that in the community, or are we kind of at a impasse at the moment?
Just to be noted, right? Most of the, I believe they're more than just AT&T now. Everybody is doing Hcode on the exploration of the VOLTHA. I think there are quite a few service providers involved now. So we definitely need to make sure I would ask Hcode to take a lead, but on getting their device ready for prime time in some way. But if they need guidance, I think if the community can provide guidance on how to help them to move forward, I think they are very committed to move forward.
So one way could be that if they upload a patch onto Gerrit, as Kim said, that there's no new patch yet. So if they upload their final patch and with some sort of a note or instructions on how to build it, at least that will give somebody like Kim or myself or somebody who's interested in this to go through that patch, just review it. I mean, not try it out, but review it and review the instructions, and then give a feedback on that. If there seems to be something that we can gather from that. But actually trying it out, I think, I don't have the bandwidth for that, and I don't know whether Radisys has the bandwidth to actually download it and try it out.
Yeah, not right now.
So I think what I can do is I will make sure I'll talk to Jason, and some of the stuff I didn't capture, make sure he listened to this recording and then provide feedback. How's that? I do believe they are as I said, they want to step up on making sure the device is deployable. So Julie, I'll approach to Jason and see how he, based on the input here, how he can go forward.
Okay, and I'm just putting a little note in here as well. And then we'll, I think, have to revisit this later. So Sean, let me sync up with you later and see what you find out. And then we'll, I think, move on for now. So right now, this is blocking the other things. So I think, let me go back to where I had it here. So, we need this one done, and then the other issues, I think, that have been demoed for some stuff kind of start to fall into place a bit better. But we need to get over this hurdle first. Okay.
Yeah, and Julie, there's also, I think after thinking about this a little bit more, there's also some back-end testing that needs to be done. As once all of that is integrated in there, we need to make sure that the Redfish stuff and the agent that's the Redfish client that's in the adapter, that all needs to be tested with the same use cases as like the BAL stuff was, as far as disconnect and reconnect, or that was mentioned there was a delay, waiting for the the connection to the OLT. I'm not sure how that is, but I don't think that this should be kind of lightly considered. There could be some some heavy integration testing involved in that once it comes you know, it comes all together and gets tested with the rest of it. So
Yeah.
which was kind of that. It was that there was a.
Yeah, I think we
had a JIRA for that. That was I think you commented on it.
553, I think.
Yes, right. It was. Yeah, that could end up being a substantial issue.
I agree.
I just want to point out. Okay.
Thank you, Kim. Okay. So Sean, I think we'll move over the rest of the edge core items right now that are in here. Then Chip, I see we've got the 608 in progress as well for the framework proposal. Chip, why don't I go ahead and ask you quickly, since we've got about 21 minutes left and still have quite a bit to cover. For the current status of the work that's planned for Sprint 3, are there any items that you need to bring up with the community at this point, or items you need feedback before you move forward on any?
No, there's not really any blockers. I've got some slides done for the MIB database proposal, and I'm going to add to the little design wiki some more details. So hopefully I'll have that in by Thursday, so people could just review it. And then for the other tasks, the task runner and the MIB synchronizer, I've got pretty much almost all of that written. I just have to do some more unit tests and also test shutdown capabilities. So I'll be posting that. So I think everything's running on schedule right now.
Great. Okay. Thank you very much. Any questions for Chip? Okay. And then once that proposal is available, is that one where you think we should allot some time, say on a Thursday call?
We can bring it up, next Thursday if we want to. Okay. But hooking into the current key value store and how that's done is somewhat straightforward. Okay. But we can do that Thursday if people want to, very briefly.
Okay, thank you. So it may not be needed. Just wanted to check. So I think we'll just maybe play that one by ear. And I believe so not this coming Thursday, but next week on Thursday, we were targeting a demo of the OpenOMCI work that's been done so far. Is that still something you think could be done on, I think it's the 15th?
Yeah, I think we can probably do that if things line up pretty well. It's nothing really exciting. It should probably just be dumping out what we did during a MIB upload. And
okay.
So.
All right, thank you, Chip. And I think that takes us through the issues that are currently in the sprint. But if we go to the backlog, you'll see, let me scroll down, that there's still a lot of, if I start way up here, you'll see we still have a lot of items that were initially, all the way down to here, targeted for inclusion in 1.3. And so since this is the last development sprint, I think it's going to be tricky on how much will actually get pulled in. I believe some of these are some retest issues once the Kubernetes support is in there. Let me close up the controls again. It keeps blocking my screen. Yeah. So we had some items like this one. Let me move it onto the other screen. It's easier to see. 437. Okay. So we had this particular item, which was related to an installer failure. And we were wondering, based on the comments in here before, if Kubernetes may be what resolves this for us. So my question for the group, and so I don't know if I'm understanding this correctly or not. So my understanding was that with 1.3, Docker Swarm is still an option to be used. So it's not a forced migration to Kubernetes. Is that correct?
The priority is Kubernetes, so we'll put the effort on Kubernetes, and we'll try to support Docker. but the main goal is to get Kubernetes to work.
Agreed. I agree there. So I was just trying to sort out what, once Kubernetes is working, if it does end up resolving this issue, if this is related to Docker Swarm, what we do with these tickets. I think they would probably just need to stay open on related to Docker Swarm, but maybe we can, I don't know if we could drop them. Well, it is only a medium right now. So I was trying to figure out how we need to address this, you know, if it's an issue only on Docker Swarm and not on Kubernetes. Do we need to just update the description to indicate that this is a Docker Swarm only defect? And it's not would that be the right path, do you think?
Is it a one-time issue, or is it something that has happened often? Because it seems to be like a while back.
Yeah, it's an old one, and it was an intermittent issue as well. So I was just pulling up one as an example. We have a few of these that we think are going to get resolved with Kubernetes, but it may be, I may not have time to discuss it here, because I see we've got about 15 minutes left. But I just wanted to maybe plant the seed for thinking about what we do with these tickets afterwards, if they are Docker Swarm related only, and if they are not issues on Kubernetes, trying to figure out what to do with them in terms of status. If we bump them down in priority, might be one option. If we clarify them in terms of description to distinguish between Docker Swarm behavior and defects and the behavior with Kubernetes. So that may be for discussion a little later, but I think these are items that would likely be retested, at least with Kubernetes, and perhaps during sprint 4, since that's our hardening sprint. So at this point, maybe that's just food for thought. And if you have some ideas, let me know. But I was trying to prep for that. I think we have other items as well, like 464, I think was one of those also. Well, maybe not. Yeah, but this is really just Swarm also.
And some of them, some of them will just disappear. For example, in Kubernetes we don't use console, we use etcd. So it's this example of console leadership election failure. Then that won't happen.
Agreed. Okay. Then let me see. So Sean and I, we're not done, and I think we need to get Manuel involved as well when we have some time. So we've started trying to do a review of the backlog and I've brought all the 1.3 things up. Hopefully I caught them all, brought them up to the top of the backlog so they're visible for the team. And you know, we do need to take a look at that in terms of what's feasible for 1.3, if some of that work can be pulled in, since there is quite a bit targeted. I think, you know, as the Kubernetes ones will be brought in as we go along, I believe. And I'm guessing the documentation for Kubernetes will go in sprint 4.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, okay. So some of those, I think we have a pretty clear path forward, but then there are others we're not quite sure. And some of you have probably seen we've been doing some updates, trying to clear up the backlog. And so we have some related questions to that I think we can take to the call. And some we may have answers. So let me go first to 440. Actually, any other questions from the group before I move on to kind of this next activity I'm looking at? Okay, not hearing anything. So this particular item was related to IGMP proxy and group flow entry not deleted after app deactivated and port disabled. There had been some discussion last year, and we had some comments back in it looks like it was actually September, and so it looks like this is as designed for how things were written, and you know, for the ticket was raised for a different issue than what was described in some of the comments, and so I taken some questions back to see if we could close this issue based on the feedback that Suresh had given previously. David had given an indication he believes that is the case. So I wanted to check with the community before I go ahead and close this, but I believe we can close this ticket. So any comments from the team, or do you need more time to look at this prior? And it's been inactive for quite a while. Okay, I'm not hearing anything from the group. I'm going to take that as an okay, that I can close this based on the feedback that was given from Sarisha, and then some comments also back from David. So the next one to look at, 87, this is another one I believe can be closed. So this one, David or Girish, I don't know if either of you want to give some feedback. This is one of the early issues, and there was not a lot in here in terms of description or anything. I believe at the time, and I don't see anything there now, maybe time of day, I believe there had been something in here related to Garrett. But this was related actually to a different issue as well. So, and we think that it was actually related to this item here. So the proposal here is to go ahead and close this issue, which is 87. Any questions from the group? Okay, so I think we'll close that one out as well. I'll go ahead and do that after the call. And 312, I think, is one we already talked about. That's the edge core one. Okay, so that we have a bunch of work to do. 640 was a defect that had been opened by Jason, and there'd been some, oh wait, is this the right one? Let's see. Yes.
That's the one we talked about, the CLI thing.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and so there'd been some exchange back and forth over comments, and so I think the feedback from Girish had been that this does not impact normal operation, and likely I think that would move towards it's not being considered a serious issue for something for a fix, really, if that was if it was something where we could ignore the errors and no impact to normal operation. There was another update added by Jason yesterday, so there's some additional, I think, investigation or dialogue, rather, probably that needs to take place here on 640. So if that could continue on either VOLTHA Discuss or through JIRA here, then we'll see if we can get some resolution for this issue. Any other questions on that particular one before I move on?
So I guess, you know, I'm reading from Jason's comment is, you know, the OOT come back, you know, the CLI functional, but the OOT status show as a disabled. It seems like that's what he meant.
Okay, okay.
It's sort of like the, you know, reboot over, you know, lots of signal,
okay.
You know, that maybe that's in the same thread.
Well, I don't see that in my setup, so I'm not sure. I'll check. Has he shared more logs on this ticket? I don't think so. Maybe I'll ask him more logs, because I don't see this issue on my setup.
Okay.
Okay, that sounds good. So thank you for that, and hopefully we can figure out a path forward there for Jason. And the next one I wanted to look at, 578. So this one, I had a question. Okay, so this one has a number of subtasks, and I wanted to check with folks on so we've got 2 of these items that are done, and so those are related to Kubernetes. And the other ones, are these just supposed to stay in the backlog at this point, the subtasks, because they're related to Docker Swarm? For these 2, I was trying to figure out, you know, for 578, since it has some tasks that are related to the current 3.
Yeah, I think most of it is completed. I will need to check with Rich
Okay.
to make sure it does.
Okay, so if you could check on the status and then update these as appropriate, that would be great.
Yeah, will do.
Okay, thank you. And then 304, let me check. I have just a couple more that were on my list to make sure I covered. Okay. So this item I had a question on, and this is for the BAL adapter and driver modified to create flows of same ether type on different gem ports. So a question I had was, this was blocking a number of issues that are now done. And so if it was blocking those issues, does that mean that this has been resolved? And we just have an incorrect status.
Yeah, Julie, on that one, the requisites for being able to do that are all in place. And I think there was a comment in here somewhere about the use case that there was.
I see it here. Yes.
Right. And it, maybe we can get some updates from see what Girish has to say about it. But that if we're only using one gem port and ALEC ID, this doesn't come into play, and so that would be almost a use case needs to expand with the ONU adapter to actually do that. And I think things just got on hold at that time in mid-September.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So Sean,
I think
anything?
Julie, I think we definitely need to support, Deutsche Telekom's 8 gem port per TCON, right? And AT&T's 4 gem port per TCON. I think that's related to this one. And then we said those type of the traffic and queue management is part of 2.0. So can we push this one out to 2.0, or we?
Well, I think the reason that this went in was to track the ability for BAL to do this, because as the description pointed out, there was a limitation in the BAL 2.2, which was a long time ago, that wouldn't allow this to happen, and BAL has since claimed that this is fixed. So maybe what can be done here is maybe the issue can just be closed as the underlying requisites are resolved, and then we can just go forward. And then if anything shows up in the use case, we're trying to set up different gem ports with the same ether type. If anything shows up there, then that just raises a new issue on that.
I think I agree with that.
Yeah, I think so.
All right, Julie, I'll put a description in there for that one.
Okay.
I was thinking about how to respond in there, but I think this will be good to do it this way.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks for the feedback and for giving some input here. Appreciate that. And then I think I had one other to make sure I got to on my, let's see, 333. Yes. So this one I had, don't know if this is just another, so this was last updated back in August, and it was not gating for 1.0. And I thought there had been something in Garrett, which is not populating right now. Again, that often happens during our meetings. So it's related to installation, and there's a getting started Linux.md document out of date that would have been at that point needed to be updated with VOLTHA Release 1 changes. So, and this was shown as in progress as well. And I think there had been something in Garrett, but this is rather stale at this point. And
yeah, actually, Julie, I saw that in Garrett that change was just abandoned because it was put in there so long ago. So that's why it's not showing up. So this so we can pretty much say there's no effective work on this because we're applicable. So maybe this should just close, and because a lot of what was put in there, the getting started document, may have been a little bit dated at that point. It was way back in VOLTHA 1.0 release.
So do we have the same issue for the 1.3? What I'm saying is, is that .md file need to be updated for the 1.3 release? Any comments?
I think that would probably be a good idea. Do we have a document that we would say that someone could get started with VOLTHA and build it from scratch and get it up and running?
So Philip, I'm asking, is this something will come up again and again for each VOLTHA release, right? So I don't know, Ken or Sergio, you guys can provide some comment on this one. As part of the VOLTHA install.
I mean, that document's definitely way out of date. When I've done it in the past, I've had to pull from 2 or 3 different documents and kind of piece it together, which a lot of people can't do if they're new to VOLTHA. It would be nice to point someone who's new to the project to something that they can bring it up from scratch without really knowing anything about being a developer of VOLTHA and maintain that.
So David's already done that. You can bring up VOLTHA without being a developer by just pulling the containers from docker.io and firing it up. You don't need to build VMs. You only need to do that if you want to develop on VOLTHA.
So just if it is just for deployment, then this one is not an issue.
This is not required for deployment. This is for deployment. If you want to deploy from Docker containers and you have access to the internet, you can use what David set up. Otherwise, if you have no access to the internet, then you need to set up either an environment that has a registry or use the installer that automatically creates one for you. But if you're going to use the installer, then you need this because you have to create it first. But that's all for developers.
Where are those instructions? Other instructions exist for what David did recently with the containerized pre-built?
He posted something. I believe he posted it on VOLTHA Discuss.
Okay.
And it may be in the wiki. I don't know if he got around to updating the wiki yet. But yeah, okay. The containers are all in a public repo. You can pull them all down and run VOLTHA with I think a simple command, and it'll run as built.
That's cool.
Yeah, there's a README file.
I agree. This document is sadly out of date, and it needs to be updated. In fact, one of my guys just asked me a question about it because it's fragmented. You need to do this, then you need to go and follow a second document, and it's
that's what I did. Yeah, exactly.
So I agree with that. I totally agree with that, and I'll try and update it. Just assign it to me if it's not assigned to me.
Yeah, and I think that I'm looking at the what was actually done in there at the on that abandoned review, and it was just updating the VOLTHA development and build and install instructions to get it to be a little bit improved at the time, because that document that was out there was really old, and this updated it a little bit, but it since has progressed a little bit farther. And I think it was also duplicating some information that was elsewhere. So
one thing I want to say is this: before you add that, don't worry about 1.3. This is independent of any VOLTHA release, right?
Yeah.
Getting started with Linux has nothing to do with the release. So just bring it up to date so that it works.
Okay. So
This is all about creating a VM that you can use for development, right?
Yeah. And then I think you said go ahead and assign it to you, Sergio?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yep.
so whoops. And we are out of time, so I'll go ahead and edit that afterwards since I can't get to the names right now. So I think we're out of time. We'll continue some scrub with the backlogs. We'll probably see more of these issues that haven't been looked at for a while brought up on these calls, trying to bring things up to date and make sure we have current status for the issues that are there, and see if there are other items that maybe have been completed that we aren't aware of also. So thanks everyone for your time. I'll go ahead and stop the recording and place this on the VOLTHA playlist once the recording is available. And then any other comments from the group or questions before we close the call for today? All right, thank you everyone, and we'll talk to you soon. Oh,
thanks, Julie.
is there a question?
Thanks, bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, Julie.